Dan, so to kick us off, you've had a couple of days to obviously reflect on Saturday's match. What are your main takeaways?
Yeah, I think we learned a lot from that game. I watched a lot of matches over the weekend, and I think a lot followed a similar pattern to ours, the way ours did. You could definitely tell it was the first game of the season. Players trying to find their rhythm. Some players experiencing the intensity and the speed of the level for the first time. So definitely take a lot from it. We need to improve. We know we have to be better from that. We want to go into games with clarity over the way that we're going to play and a real commitment and confidence in the game plan. We know that I think actually we'll have a lot of players that will be better for Saturday. Some of them that would have been their first taste of League One football, and whilst we've been really pleased with our pre-season, there's nothing really that prepares you for that intensity on the first day. So I think we'll be better for it, and I know we'll use what we've learned from it to improve and be ready for Blackpool.
It looks to be a really strong defensive performance, but was ultimately undone by that harsh penalty decision. And on another day, I guess you would have been happy coming away with a point.
Yeah, I actually don't think our review process and our reflections would have been too dissimilar whether we'd conceded that goal or not. I think irrespective of that decision, we know we have to play better. And I think our performance probably brought on the opportunity for a bit of poor luck to come into play. We ended up the final 30 minutes of the game disjointed, a little bit deep, and we didn't really have enough of an attacking threat ourselves. So yes, disappointed with the decision that was made, but understand that actually we have to be better to try and turn those decisions in our favour in the future by actually providing more of an attacking threat, by establishing ourselves in the game in those difficult moments. So yeah, disappointed with the decision, but also understand that we have to be better in those moments.
Football can be a game of small margins as well, and you can obviously come up against decisions like that this season. So is there anything you can kind of learn from that as well, and how you react to those kind of decisions?
Yeah, well, I think that ultimately the less time they're around your penalty area, the more time you spend around theirs, the less chance there is that you're going to give penalties away. So, simply put, we have to try and gain back control. There was moments in the game, whether it's a throw-in back to a teammate and we give the ball away, whether it's turning the ball over cheaply, that sort of lifts the crowd. Because I actually thought after 60 minutes of the game, I didn't think there was a lot for either supporters to really get behind it, and that was a positive with respect to the big crowd that they had in that day. So we've just got to try and gain more control in those moments. We've got to try and establish ourselves as more of an attacking threat. We want to be higher up the pitch. We want to be closer to their box. We want to be sustaining attacks closer to their box. And I think if we can do that, those small margin decisions, they don't have such a negative effect on the result.
A positive from Saturday would be Kieran Wilson and George Birch making their league debuts for the club, but they've learned a lot about League One experience in a quite intimidating atmosphere for them, I imagine, as well.
Yeah, I think those two would have learned a huge amount. I'm sure it was an incredibly proud day for themselves, their family and the academy. It's always a proud moment to see young players come through. I actually think that we ended up, there was I think maybe 6 in the travelling squad, and I can't remember for a long time since we had that many sort of academy products in a match day squad. And with that, it's an incredibly proud moment, as I've said, but you will equally have to understand that you have to be patient with them. They've had brilliant pre-seasons. They came back fit and ready. And the good thing about the size of the squad at the moment is that it's created the opportunity for those players. But we also need to make sure they're surrounded by experience that allows their quality to shine. So yeah, really proud moment for them as individuals.
Like I say, we had Tom Dean, who's had a few appearances in the first team. Sonny Cox, who's establishing himself as a first team regular on the pitch in the second half as well. So that's another fantastic advert for what the academy can achieve. Absolutely.
I think everyone knows, it goes without saying, how strong the academy's been as a foundation for the team and for the football club as a whole. I think actually if you look at the average age of the team in general, let alone the team that finished that game, it was incredibly young on Saturday. So I'm sure there's more to come. I'm not sure whether some supporters remember it, but I certainly do, in previous years where it was after COVID and we had our first couple of games of the season, they were sticky. In the season we got promoted, I remember Leyton Orient away, second game of the season was difficult. And often with young players, it's the difficult moments, the experiences that they learn, the lessons they learn in those moments that see them come through and go on to perform to the highest level. So yeah, brilliant for all those young players that are involved, including the ones that are just new to the club in general. But we will learn and we will have to be better quickly.
And speaking about, learning and development, how does the club support these young players from making that transition from, like under 18 academy football into a first team League One environment? Yeah,
well, I think actually if you look at Kieran, George and Liam Oakes who've come up this summer, a huge credit has to go to the preparation that came before their pre-season. And I think that goes to the likes of Tom Yates and Craig who work within the sports science part of it. The work they did in the off-season has allowed these players to come back, again, I would argue, fitter than many of the young players that we've had in recent years. And I would argue that the three of them have had as positive a pre-season as I've seen since the likes of a Josh Key, a Joel Randall and a Harry Kite. So credit to them, their mentality and their physicality that they've come back with has been a huge plus. And that again goes down to the work within the academy with the likes of David Oldfield as well, that has tried to set them up as best as we possibly can to come into this.
It wouldn't have been the result that we'd have headed to Doncaster looking for on Saturday, but we can't look past the fact that it was the first game of the season for a huge amount of the squad and new faces getting used to playing with each other, and that sort of patience is probably a key going forward. Yeah,
absolutely. I think patience matched with high aspirations, high ambition. It's important that we acknowledge that we need to be better. We actually review and reflect on the areas that we need to improve. The nice thing is, when I watch that game back, I see so many areas of the game that we can improve. I'd be far more worried if I thought, well, that was us at our best. It's certainly not that. We know we need to get players back fit and ready. And whilst we've been really pleased with the pre-season with regards to injuries, we know we've still got players that left last season needing to return to full fitness. The likes of Pearce, who's been a huge player for this club for 10 years, Josh McGuinness, who played a huge part last year, John Lee Afeko. So brilliant that the young players have been given an opportunity, but we also know that we need to get those players back in and around the squad. And again, it's about integrating the new players. I think, including the 3 young boys that have come up this year, maybe 14 out of the 26 outfield players are new. So it's important that we integrate them into the way that we play. It's important that we let them know that we believe in them, that we have patience with them, but the level will require them to be better and be better quickly. And I think that's exciting for players because they like a challenge.
And again, with development of our younger players, we're looking to enter the Premier League Cup again this year. Fantastic run last year that must have been so beneficial to the younger group. Yeah,
I think, maybe the 4th or 5th time that we've been in the competition. I think each year brings a different opportunity and a different set of challenges. I think last year, because of the size of the first team, it was a fantastic opportunity to get senior players minutes alongside the young players. Now, as the squad stands, I'm not sure what that will look like this season, but whatever the opportunity is, we'll look to take it. We'll look to give the players as close a preparation and a challenge as what they get within the first team, so that whenever an opportunity arises, they can be as ready for it as they possibly can.
And for yourself as a coach, what do you get out of the Premier League Cup?
I think getting on a more personal level, getting to understand the young players, working with them closer where their performances are, their starting games, you're having to prepare them for that. So I really enjoy working with the players and actually seeing some of the young players step up where they are the experience within the team. And it's nice to see how players put what they've learned in the first team into action in those games. So I enjoy seeing that. I enjoy preparing a group to try and perform and win, because I am a big believer that if you get the performance right, then the results will follow. So yeah, I enjoy a lot of aspects of this, and I think most importantly the players enjoy it. That they really love, even if they're out on loan, they love representing the club and wearing the badge and performing at St James's Park in front of our fans.
When you're talking about that developing between academy and League One. The players obviously get to play at St James Park, the younger players, and can that help get them prepared and bridge that gap for when it does come?
Yeah, I think there's two parts of it really that prepares them. It's 6 games and it's a knockout, so they have to win. That's a different feeling for them. But they also know that over the course of 6 games, you won't be able to get lucky in all 6 games. You have to perform to win. So a little bit of pressure with that. And then the other part is, I say it every time, but playing in front of the fans. It's a huge part of this football club. For me, it's one of the biggest reasons that we bring through young players at this football club. We're different. We have patience with players. We have a need for players to come through, not just a want. So when people are sat in the stands watching those players, I think they have a real desire to see them come through. So equally, as disappointing as Doncaster was on Saturday, I know, and I saw the fans after the game, I could see that they knew that there was young players in that group that are going to come good for this football club, and they needed, that's why they clapped them off at the end. So going back to the Premier League Cup, the challenge and the fans are the biggest thing that I think we get from it.
And just to finish, we're back at St James Park on Saturday for our first league game, and we're going to need the supporters to get behind the boys from the start and get the atmosphere going to create the environment. Yeah,
definitely. I think that some of the players got a small taste of it in Pearce's testimonial game against Swansea, but there are players that are at this level for the first time. They'll be getting their first experience of St James's Park, and I'd love that to be a fantastic experience. They make our home games what they are, and we're going to need them more than ever this season. And all I can say is that we will be ready for the game when it comes at 3 o'clock on Saturday.